The year 2009 was a solid year in the WWE. Was it as good as 2008? Probably not, but it was definitely a lot better than 2010. But 2009, while it might not have been the best year, it was definitely not one of the worst year, and it was definitely a year where you could sit through and you could actually come out of the year and actually like something. But with that being said, usually a good year is defined by a good WrestleMania. Unfortunately for the year 2009, WrestleMania 25 was absolutely terrible, for a variety of reasons. And honestly, you kick off the show with a reason why this pay-per-view ultimately sucked. The Colognes versus John Morrison and The Miz in this unification tag team match. You have the WWE Tag Championships, you have the World Tag Championships. You are going to unify them into one tag title belt. And that's all fine and dandy. This match had some story to it. This match was actually good. The feud was actually good. It's just a shame that this match went on the pre-show and not on the actual card, because the match itself was actually kind of fun and entertaining. It was a lumberjack match, so originally I was a little bit worried that this match was going to be just a big flop fest, but it actually turned out to be a good match. It's just a shame, like I said, that it went on the pre-show above a match like, the Divas Battle Royal that fucking sucked. Just in my opinion. Then we get to the opening match of the pay-per-view, the Money in the Bank ladder match, and once again, a good match. I don't agree with CM Punk winning here, but I will say one thing. It did lead to the CM Punk heel turn, so I will allow it, and I will accept it. The match itself was good. Was it as good as WrestleMania 21 or WrestleMania 22 or hell, even WrestleMania 24? That's a little bit debatable, but it was a really good match. And the reason why I didn't want CM Punk to win was because he won it the year before, and I always think that it's always good to have some sort of a surprise. Like, let's say you had Kofi, because look at this whole Money in the Bank ladder match. Other than Finlay, this match was really stacked with talent. And especially when you look at it, you could have had Kofi win the Money in the Bank ladder match here, especially if you were still going to do the Kofi feud against Randy Orton, and you could have actually had Kofi Kingston cash in on Randy Orton and win the WWE Championship to set up their feud. Now, would he be the champion going into WrestleMania? Probably not, but it still would have worked if the feud that they had was A, for the belt, and B, involved Kofi actually holding the belt. It would have been a really good surprise to see him win the Money in the Bank ladder match, and it would have went well with the feud. So that's kind of why I'm still stuck on the fact that Punk won, and I'm not really happy about that. I'm a huge CM Punk fan, and I'm not happy about that. Then we get to a colossal waste of time in the Miss WrestleMania Battle Royal. I will say one thing about this match. It did give us Santina Marella, so from that standpoint, from a comedic standpoint, it was a fun match to watch. But you can already tell WWE didn't give a shit about the Divas because they didn't even get proper introductions. You didn't even know the process of the match, like the rules of the match, because usually in Battle Royals you go over the top rope, so why were people eliminated going under the rope and through the ropes? It just didn't make any sense to me. Then we get to Chris Jericho versus the Legends in the handicap elimination match. I mean, this match, sadly, was ultimately all about Mickey Rourke, and I think that was stupid. But I will say one thing, this match was definitely saved by Ricky fucking Steamboat. That guy could still go in 2009, believe it or not. And after you quickly eliminated Jimmy Snuka and you quickly eliminated Roddy Piper, it was pretty much a Jericho Steamboat showcase. I loved that part of the match, and I even loved their match at Backlash the month after. But otherwise, the handicap match was kind of a waste of time. I didn't really like it. It wasn't that good of a match. But then again, it wasn't going to be. My favorite match, my second favorite match on this card belonged to Jeff versus Matt Hardy in this Extreme Rules match. The story to this match was fantastic, in my opinion. I hear people say it was bland, but you gotta realize that when you have a feud with two brothers, it's kind of hard not to have a good feud or a good match. And here, you had Matt Hardy turn heel at the Royal Rumble, and then you have Matt Hardy do all this stuff before the Royal Rumble to Jeff. You know, he was responsible for the pyro accident. He was responsible for the accident at Survivor Series. He's the one that ran Jeff's car off the road, and he even non-directly admitted that he set the fire to Jeff's house that wound up killing Jeff's dog. And I think that match, this feud was gold. And then I look at this match, and the one complaint that I have about this match was maybe I could have made an argument that the match could have co-main evented or at least been higher up on the card. And it also could have went a little bit longer. But the match brought the extreme, without a doubt. This was definitely my favorite of their three matches. And ultimately, Matt went over, which was good. A good match. I can't complain about it. It's one of my favorite WrestleMania matches going back to watch it. And other than Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels, this is pretty much what saved WrestleMania 25. And then you get a space filler. A fun but terrible match was Mysterio versus JBL for the IC title that lasted 21 seconds. That's pretty much all I'm going to say about that match. JBL retired. Well, I mean, honestly, the one thing I did like about this match was this was the year where you saw Rey Mysterio start to dress up his masks and other stuff in good attire and in creative attire. And this year he came out as the Joker, and I actually really fucking liked that. So, hey, it worked. I liked it, but this match sucked. Sadly, this next match, and I'm going to warn you now, this is going to sound terrible, and this is going to sound really, really weird, but my favorite match on this show is also the reason why I hate this show. And it's not because the match was bad, because the match was gold. The match was awesome, and the feud was awesome, the build was awesome, and everything about this match was awesome, except what I like to call hashtag WWE logic. Because you take this match that has all the story in the world, all the build in the world, and you know going into it that when you go past this match, nothing else is going to follow it. So that means that it belongs perfectly in the middle of the card. Yeah, hashtag WWE logic. I don't understand why Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels, as great as this match was, and easily it's a top 5 WrestleMania match, belonged in the middle of the card behind a triple threat for the world title that no one cared about, and a WWE Championship match that we've seen, 100 fucking times. That was stupid. But Taker versus Michaels is ultimately what makes WrestleMania 25 memorable. As bad as the show was, I can actually look back at WrestleMania 25 and look at two matches that I really enjoyed. Jeff versus Matt Hardy, and also Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels. It's just a shame that, once again, hashtag WWE logic comes into play for the 4th fucking time at WrestleMania. You had WrestleMania 18, where Rock and Hogan didn't main event. You had, in my opinion, WrestleMania 23, Batista and Undertaker didn't main event when it should have. WrestleMania 24, Shawn versus Flair didn't main event when it should have. And now WrestleMania 25, Taker Michaels happening when on the mid-card when it should have fucking main evented. It's stupid. Hashtag WWE logic. And then we get to ultimately what followed that match. And the first match was the garbage known as John Cena versus Edge versus Big Show in this triple threat match. And ultimately, this feud was so stupid because it was a fucking love triangle between Edge, Big Show, and Vicky fucking Guerrero. Really? That's the feud to this match that didn't even involve John Cena. The most John Cena had a part in, the most that John Cena had a part in was showing Edge the video of Big Show and Vicky Guerrero in the locker room fucking making out with each other. That's the most that Cena had in this match. Really? And I looked at the crowd. No one cared about this match for good reasons, because it followed Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels. Top 5 greatest WrestleMania match in history. And Cena, Edge, Big Show over Vicky fucking Guerrero is what followed it. Yeah. Hashtag WWE logic. And then you get to the match that main evented the show. And every time I look at Triple H versus Randy Orton, I think Triple H Chris Jericho from WrestleMania 18. A match that was not bad, but it had to follow up a match that was excellent. Hogan versus Rock at WrestleMania 18. You followed that up with Jericho versus Triple H and no one cared. You followed Taker versus Michaels up with Triple H versus Randy Orton, a match that we've seen God knows how many times, and again, no one cared. The entire Reliance Stadium was silent in that match. That's how sad this match was, and ultimately, you remember a show based on its main event. Well, here you don't. Here you remember Jeff versus Matt, and here you remember Taker versus HBK. And you remember the stupidity of the WWE leaving this show. I guarantee you they looked back at the show and were like, wow, we fucked up. Because guess what? Hashtag WWE logic. Triple H versus Randy Orton for the WWE Championship match was okay, but no one cared. I didn't care. And it's a real shame, too, because for what John Cena versus Edge versus Big Show didn't do in terms of a storyline, Triple H versus Randy Orton, they fucking delivered. They had a great story, in my opinion. You involved the McMahons. You involved Randy Orton RKOing Stephanie McMahon, giving Vince McMahon a punt kick, taking Shane McMahon out of the equation. And you have Triple H invading Randy Orton's house. And after RKOing Stephanie McMahon, you had Randy Orton fucking kiss her in front of Triple H handcuffed to a rope. And then you decide to main event the show with this match following Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels. And no one cared. And it's a damn shame. And you put in that stipulation that if he got DQ'd or counted out, he lost the title. And it's like, again, no one cared. Man. I looked at WrestleMania 25 going into it, and I'm like, this show has so much potential. And then I watched the show, and I was disappointed. I left the show disappointed. And I look back at it 7 years later, and I'm like, wow, hashtag WWE logic, they fucked up. And they did. WrestleMania 25, it's not the worst WrestleMania of all time, but it's definitely in the bottom 10. I'll give it that one.